In a land not so far, just a short time ago, there lived a young girl on Parawy Road. She was loved around town for her stunning looks, yet was still just as eager to study the books. But no matter how smart, no matter how magnificent, she was still hated by a classmate, Maleficent. This frenemy did curse her to a long sleepy hell, in which only true love's kiss should break up the spell. So one afternoon, while going to get the mail, she jabbed herself on an old rusty nail, and it hit her like a bus, ever so quick, and in 5 short minutes she fell down sick. She was rushed to the hospital, and to machines was hooked up, but no matter what they did, they could not wake her up. But lucky for her, a saviour was on the way, a prince called Philip, who would redeem the day. Just hold on a second, what do you think you're doing? I'm admiring this girl over which I am wooing. Well, what are you doing with your lips in a purse? I was hoping to kiss her out of her curse. That's not a curse, you dolt. Stop being so cretinous. She is afflicted with an acute tetanus. But the note, right here, if I don't save her, she'll die. Better her off dead than you being a bad guy. And to that Philip scoffed. How am I at fault? Haven't you heard of sexual assault? Philip just looked at the nurse with shock. For the last few years he had lived under a rock. Assault means attack, and I'm against violence. Ah, but isn't it violence to take advantage of her silence? I'm not taking advantage. She has no voice, and that's exactly why she has no choice. A choice between life and death, there is no debate, but it's not up to you to decide her fate. Don't you see, young man, what you're doing is mean. It's not the Dark Ages, it's 2018. You can't go around kissing women who are asleep. You might save their life, but you'll still be a creep. I understand at heart you have good intent, but does she want to live in a world without consent? Like I said before, better to live in a world than no world at all. This conversation is triggering my anxiety. People like you enforce the patriarchal society. By rescuing her, acting as her savior, you're setting a standard for male sexual behavior. If this story is retold, doesn't matter if it's a year or a day, the moral you're setting is assault is okay. And I hope if you go through with it, you do get sent to jail, because you're blinded by your privilege as an entitled white male. Okay, you're right. You've convinced me. You've won. Better her sleeping with a choice than living with none. And I guess you're right, that I can't take that path, save her and then risk society's wrath, because you've taught me there are societal constructs we cannot break, even when human lives are at stake. And can I just say I'm sorry how I was behaving? It was my toxic masculinity that assumed she needed saving. You might still think this is wrong, but you have got to trust us, because nothing is more important in the world than social justice. And with that, Prince Philip went to a land far away, for his good deed was done for the day. So now, to take a hint from our good friend Perrault, I shall now say the moral, 'cause it's important to show I didn't make this task to be edgy or rude, and it's important my message is not misconstrued. I'm highlighting the worrying societal trend where acts of obvious good are questioned to no end. Look to the hate on the Disney tale Prince, where his advances on Aurora make modern audiences wince. Example, Newcastle mother, age 40, Sarah Hall, believing they shouldn't teach Sleeping Beauty at all. And while you may think a request causes no harm, don't you think the school's agreement is a cause of alarm? For few seem to recognize if their lips did not meet, then Princess Aurora would be minus 6 feet. Or look at America in the West Coast consensus, where 15% of the responding percentage said in an emergency they would not offer support for fear of the victim taking them to court. Forget the Americans and look to the UK, where a woman after helping a friend had to pay a compensation of £40,000 in cash, all for pulling a woman out of a car crash. So at the end of the day, is this where humanity should head? Because if it's wrong to save a life, maybe they're better off dead.